Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Homage to the Blessed One, the Worthy One, the Supremely Enlightened One. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Namo Buddhaya. Meritorious parents and dear children. In the last program, in the last month, we learned the importance of the Poson Full Moon Poya Day. We learned the importance of the Poson Full Moon Poya Day. And in this program, we will be learning the importance of the Esala Full Moon Poya Day. It's a very significant day for the Buddhists in Sri Lanka and all over the world. It's a very amazing day and a very useful day where many beings were able to gain happiness and develop happiness, and many beings were able to overcome sufferings in the 4 planes of miseries. The doors to deathless, the doors to Nibbana, the doors to overcome rebirth, the doors to overcome karma was generated, was developed, was opened on a day, on a Esala Full Moon Poya Day. It's a day where Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha and 3 things were introduced to the world. It was the Buddha's first Dhamma sermon. On Esala Full Moon Poya Day, Buddha preached the first Dhamma sermon. And also, the Sangha was created. The Sangha was appeared in this world on Esala Full Moon Poya Day. So, our Blessed One, Shakyamuni Gautama Buddha, in his previous lives, in many previous lives, in many yawns, he dedicated his life to become a Buddha. Throughout the samsara, in one life, in a previous life of the Buddha, when he was a normal person, but with great effort, at that time he was not a bodhisattva. Before becoming a bodhisattva, one day, in the middle of the ocean, in the middle of the sea, when he was going on trading in a ship, the ship broke. And then he had to keep the mother in his back and swim to the shore. So he did that for 7 days. He kept his mother on his back for 7 days and swam for 7 days to help the mother, to give life to the mother, to protect his mother. So after taking the mother to the shore with the help of the gods, the mother blessed this child to become a Buddha. On that day, Brahmas blessed this child, this young boy, to become a Buddha in future. And from that day onwards, that young boy who had enormous qualities started developing more qualities to become a Buddha. So from there onwards, after that incident, then again, that young prince later on, he was born in a time where Dipankara Buddha was born in this world, where Dipankara Buddha was preaching Dhamma in India. At that time, that boy was born as an ascetic. He was ascetic at that time. He was born as a normal person, but later he became ascetic and developed many wholesome deeds. He developed his mind, developed jhanas, and became ascetic, who were able to go by air, who were able to perform supernatural powers. So then this ascetic, ascetic Sumedha met Deepankara Buddha, and he got declaration from Deepankara Buddha saying that Deepankara Buddha said that this ascetic Sumedha will become a Buddha in future. So from that day onwards, our Bodhisattva, the Buddha, started practicing 10 perfections. Then after practicing 10 perfections, finally he was born in Tusita Divine World. Then from Tusita Divine Worlds, with the invitation of gods, he was born in the human world. That was his last life. He was born in a royal family. He was born in Queen Mahamaya's womb. He conceived in Queen Mahamaya's womb. Queen Mahamaya was a very virtuous mother. Then Queen Mahamaya gave birth to Prince Siddhartha. And then he lived for 29 years in the palace. He got married. He saw 4 special signs. And then those signs led him to leave the palace, to renunciate. The Bodhisattva, by seeing the 4 signs, he left the palace and he gave pain for 6 years. He gave pain for 6 years. For 6 years, he gave pain for his body. And then, finally, by understanding and by realizing the Noble Eightfold Path, the Blessed One, the Bodhisattva finally, under the Bodhi tree at Buddha Gaya, beside the Neranjara river, under the Bodhi tree, our Bodhisattva realized the 4 noble truths without the guidance of a teacher, became a Buddha. Dear Dhamma friends, there was only one reason for our Buddha. There was only one aim for the Buddha, just for the Buddha to escape from suffering and help others to escape from suffering. So on a Vesak day, Buddha became an enlightened one. The Bodhisattva became a Buddha. Then on a Poson full moon poya day, Buddhism was brought to Sri Lanka. And then on Esala full moon poya day, Buddha preached the first Dhamma sermon. That was the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta. That was the first Dhamma sermon preached to the 5 bhikkhus. Dear Dhamma friends, it's very amazing. It's great the way how Buddha lived his life. After the Bodhisattva became a Buddha, under the Bodhi tree, the Blessed One spent 7 days under the Bodhi tree by experiencing the happiness of Nibbana. So after experiencing the happiness of Nibbana, the Blessed One got an invitation from Sahampati Brahma. Sahampati Brahma came to the Buddha and invited the Buddha to preach Dhamma. Then after accepting the invitation done by Sahampati Brahma, the Buddha decided to preach Dhamma. Dear Dhamma friends, there was a special reason for the Buddha. The main quality, one of the greatest quality that was developed in the Buddha's mind to preach Dhamma was kindness. Out of all the compassionate beings in the world, Buddha was the most compassionate person in this world. Why? Dear Dhamma friends, after he became a Buddha, he abandoned lust, anger and delusion. So after Sahampati Brahma invited the Buddha to preach Dhamma, first of all, Buddha looked at the beings, looked at the world, looked how other beings, looked the nature of the other beings. From his developed mind, he was able to see the nature of other beings. So when he saw the nature of other beings, he realized that other beings are suffering from lust, anger and delusion. Just to imagine, when someone has abandoned lust, anger and delusion, a person who has abandoned lust, anger and delusion, seeing the other people who are living with lust, anger and delusion, then when Buddha saw the nature of other beings who are trapped in this samsara and suffering from lust, anger and delusion, Buddha's great compassion was developed. Then he had compassion towards the people to help beings and gods to escape other beings, to help others to escape from lust, anger, and delusion. Then he uttered a nice verse. Some wonderful words came out from the Buddha's wonderful mouth. Aparuta te sangamatassa dvara ye sotavanto pamuchantu saddang. Dear Dhamma friends, Buddha preached, the Blessed One has opened the path to Nibbana. The Blessed One has opened the doors to Nibbana. The ones who liked, the ones who are delighted listening to the Buddha's teachings, may they develop Shraddha. Then Buddha uttered these words, and then he was wondering to whom I could preach this Dhamma. Because this is hard to realize. People are attached to sensual pleasures. People are attached to the external world. People are overwhelmed with sensual pleasures. How can I preach this Dhamma? Then, how can I find a good person to preach this Dhamma? Then he thought of Alara Kalama. Then God said, he has passed away. Then Uddaka Putta, he has also passed away. Then, dear Dhamma friends, he remembered who? The 5 bhikkhus. When the Bodhisattva gave pain to his body during his self-mortification, during his fasting time, during the time he gave pain to his body, there were 5 ascetics who helped him. But after the Bodhisattva followed the Noble Eightfold Path, after this Bodhisattva started to follow the Noble Eightfold Path, the 5 ascetics gave up the Bodhisattva. Because the 5 ascetics' idea were, only by giving pain to the body, we can realize and attain Nibbana. So, but fortunately, our Bodhisattva, due to his meritorious done in previous lives, he was able to understand and realize and discover the Noble Eightfold Path. That was hidden in this world. No, the Noble Eightfold Path is something exists in this world, something that is prevailing in this world. But what Buddha does is, he uplifts that. He realizes that hidden nature and he reveals it. Only a Buddha can do it. Only a Buddha can do it. All the Arahants learn the Noble Eightfold Path from a Buddha. Then Buddha, all these things happen, meeting Sahampati Brahma, it's all happened in Buddha Gaya. And then the Blessed One. So the Blessed One, after he got the invitation from Sahampati Brahmaraja, then by foot, the Blessed One left Bodh Gaya to Varanasi. The Blessed One went to Varanasi by foot. Dear Dhamma friends, dear children, just see how much our Blessed One is compassionate towards beings. Then the Blessed One went to Varanasi. Now just imagine those 5 ascetics are going to meet a noble friend. Then the 5 ascetics, when they saw the Blessed One from far away, they decided, no, we shouldn't go and pay hospitality. But then when Buddha was so close to them, they couldn't bear it. They couldn't bear the Buddha's qualities. One monk went and took the bowls. Then they attended to the Buddha. Then they started calling Buddha, friend, Ayushmata. Then Blessed One said, don't call me Ayushmata. I have become a Buddha. Then they had doubts. Then the Blessed One asked, have I ever said I have become a Buddha without becoming a Buddha before? Then they understood. Blessed One said that he has become a Blessed One, he has become a Buddha only after he became a Buddha. Not before becoming a Buddha, he proclaimed to be a Buddha. Before he became a Buddha, he understood and he were able to recognize who he was. We went refuge to a Blessed One, to a Buddha who was honest. If you like to become honest, we should go refuge to the Buddha because he was honest. Dear Dhamma friends, then the Blessed One met the 5 ascetics and he preached the first Dhamma sermon, that is the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta. Dear Dhamma friends, when the Blessed One was coming to Isipatana Deer Park, to Varanasi from Buddha Gaya, the gods and Brahmas were waiting to listen to the first Dhamma sermon preached by the Blessed One. The gods and Brahmas were waiting for many years, for trillions of years, to learn Dhamma from a Buddha. Dear Dhamma friends, the 5 ascetics, the 5 bhikkhus were so fortunate to listen to the first sermon done by a Blessed One, done by the Buddha. It was just 5 human beings, but millions and millions, millions and trillions of divine beings and Brahmas assembled to Isipatana Deer Park to listen to the first sermon preached by our Blessed One. Just imagine, when the first Dhamma sermon was preached on that day, even the hell, the darkness of the hell was dispelled. The radiance of divine beings and Brahmas expelled the darkness of all the world systems. The entire world system trembled when the Blessed One preached the first Dhamma sermon. Even the earth rejoiced by trembling the earth to show respect to the Buddha for the first Dhamma sermon preached by the Blessed One. So, in that way, dear Dhamma friends, many things happen at Isipatana Deer Park. Flowers were bloomed in all the trees. All the animals were calm that day. All the divine beings were calm that day. Everyone was happy like they have won in a battle, like they have achieved a great victory. So meritorious Dhamma friends, on this Esala full moon poya day, we are going to learn a wonderful sermon preached by the Buddha, that is Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta. Dear Dhamma friends, the Blessed One addressed the 5 bhikkhus and he said, monks, these 2 extremes ought not to be practiced. What are the 2 extremes? By one who has gone forth from household life. Now these 5 ascetics has gone forth from household life. That means they have given up the lay life and become monks. Then Buddha preached, there is addiction to indulgence in sensual pleasures, which is low, coarse, and the way of ordinary people, not practiced by noble ones, and is unbeneficial. So that extreme should be abandoned. That means chasing after sensual pleasures. Then, and there is addiction to self-mortification, which is painful, not praised by noble ones, and unbeneficial. What is that? Giving pain to body. In India, dear children, dear parents, even today I heard from a monk who used to go on pilgrimage very often. There is a sutta called Kukkuravattiya Sutta. Dear Dhamma friends, in India still there are people who practice various ascetic practices, to attain Nibbana. There are people who act and who pretend and who live like dogs. There are people who live like cows. That means they walk like dogs and they sit like dogs, they sleep like dogs, they eat like dogs. There's a sutta called Kukkuravattiya Sutta, where 2 persons come, one person comes like a dog, the other person comes like a cow, saying that they ask from the Buddha, he has been, the other person says, the other person has been practicing this life to attain Nibbana. What do you think, Blessed One? Then the Blessed One said, don't ask me. Then, finally, Blessed One said the truth. Then only after hearing the teachings from the Buddha, they changed. So there are people, even today in India, who give pain to body for the sake of realizing the 4 noble truths. So Buddha said, there is addiction to self-mortification, which is painful, not practiced by noble one, and unbeneficial. Avoiding both these extremes, monks, the Tathagata has realized the middle path, which gives vision, gives knowledge, and leads to calm, to insight, to enlightenment, and to Nibbana. Now the Buddha is introducing the Noble Eightfold Path to the five ascetics. Don't forget that numerous gods and brahmas are listening to this Dhamma sermon. Numerous gods and brahmas are listening to this Dhamma sermon now. Then Buddha preaches, Katamacha sa bhikkhave majjima patipada tathagatena abhisambuddha chakkukarani jnanakarani upasamaya abhinyaya sambodhaya nibbānaya sangvattati. And what bhikkhus is the middle path realized by the Tathagata, which gives vision, gives knowledge, and leads to calm, to insight, to enlightenment, and Nibbana. Then Buddha preaches, Ayameva ariyo attangiko maggo seyyati idang samma ditti samma sankappo samma vaca samma kammanto samma jivo samma vayamo samma sati samma samadhi. It's just this Noble Eightfold Path, namely right view, right intention, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. Dear Dhamma friends, then Buddha preaches, Ayanko sa bhikkhave majjima patipada tathagatena abhisambuddha chakkukarani jnanakarani upasamaya abhinyaya sambodhaya nibbānaya sangvattati. Monks, this is the middle path realized by the Tathagata, which gives vision, gives knowledge, and leads to calm, to insight, to enlightenment, and to Nibbana. Then, dear Dhamma friends, then Buddha explains now one by one. Idanko pana bhikkhave dukkhang arya satchang. Now Buddha preaches, dear bhikkhus, the noble truth of suffering is this. Birth is suffering. Aging is suffering. Remember, sickness is suffering. Death is suffering. Associating with disagreeable people and disagreeable things are suffering. Separation from loved ones and pleasant things is suffering. Separating from loved ones and pleasant things is suffering. Not receiving what one desires is suffering. That means we like to remain as young, but we can't have it. We can't achieve it. We like to look beautiful every day, but we can't achieve it. We like to remain without falling sick, but we can't achieve it. That's why we need Nibbana to escape from all these sufferings. Then Buddha preaches, the five aggregates of clinging are suffering. Form aggregate, feeling aggregate, perception aggregate, volitional formation aggregate, and then consciousness aggregate. So these five aggregates are subjected to suffering. Then Buddha preaches, monks, the noble truth of origin of suffering is this. Now, the noble truth of origin of suffering is this. It is the craving which produces re-existence accompanied by passionate lust and finding delight now here and now there, namely craving for sense pleasures, craving for existence and craving for non-existence. Now that is the second noble truth of suffering. Then Buddha preaches, monks, the noble truth of the cessation of suffering is this, is the complete cessation of that very craving. Giving it up, relinquishing it, liberating oneself from it, and detaching oneself from it. From what? From craving. Then Buddha preaches, Idanko pana bhikkhave dukkha nirodhagamini patipada arya satchang. Monks, the noble truth of the path leading to the cessation of suffering is this. It is just this Noble Eightfold Path, namely right view, right intention, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. Then Buddha preaches, Idan dukkhang arya satchanti me bhikkhave pubbe Pubbaya anunustutesu dhammesu chakkung udapadi, jnanang udapadi, panya udapadi, vijja udapadi, aloka udapadi. What's the meaning of it? Monks, this is the noble truth of suffering. Such was the vision, the understanding, the wisdom, the knowledge, the light that arose in me, concerning things not heard before. Then Buddha preaches, monks, this suffering as a noble truth should be fully realized. Such was vision, the understanding, the wisdom, the knowledge, the light that arose in me concerning things not heard before. So like that, Buddha explains these four noble truths. So if you can read this Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta, you will be able to learn and understand all the points, all these Dhamma points preached by the Buddha in the first Dhamma sermon. Then Buddha preaches, monks, but when my knowledge and vision of these four noble truths, as they really are, were perfected in their 3 phases and 12 aspects. In 3 phases and 12 aspects, then I claim to have realized the matchless supreme enlightenment in this world with its devas, with its maras and brahmas, in this generation with its recluses and brahmins, with its devas and humans. Now see the Blessed One's wonderful words, how purified his mind was, how much he has realized. He's explaining in their 3 phases and 12 aspects. So, dear Dhamma friends, we were very fortunate to hear these things. Even after 2600 years, we are learning the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta. Then the Blessed One, after preaching the Four Noble Truths in a well-explained way, then Buddha preaches, dear Dhamma friends, and a vision of insight arose in me. Thus, unshakable is the liberation of my mind. See, unshakable is the liberation of my mind. This is my last birth. There is no more rebirth for me. The Blessed One taught this discourse on setting in motion the wheel of Dhamma. The group of 5 monks was delighted, and they rejoiced in the words of the Blessed One. When this discourse was thus expounded, there arose in Venerable Kondanya the passion-free, stainless eye of Dhamma. Whatever has the nature of arising has the nature of ceasing. After our Buddha, in a previous life, keeping the mother on his back and swam, and after swimming for 7 days in the great ocean, after 16 lakhs of yawns, he met the Deepankara Buddha. And then after 4 lakhs of yawns, he became a Buddha. Then after giving pain for 6 years in the last life, he became a Buddha with the hope of escaping himself from lust, anger and delusion and help others to escape from lust, anger and delusion. When he got to know that his hope has fulfilled, how happy he could be, dear Dhamma friends. That was on a Esala full moon poya day. The Sangha was appeared in this world on the Esala full moon poya day. The Dhamma was appeared in this world. The Dhamma appeared in this world. The Devas and Brahmas and humans listened to the Dhamma for the first time from the Buddha on a Esala full moon poya day. So on Esala full moon poya day, we should venerate the Buddha, and we should not forget to venerate the Dhamma. We should not forget to venerate the Sangha, especially Arahant Anya Kondanya Mahathera. Venerable Anya Kondanya Mahathera was the eldest bhikkhu in the Buddha Sasana. He lived in Himalaya mountains and he attained the Mahaparinibbana in the Himalaya mountains. Tuskers, elephants attend to him. After he passed away, the sad sound, the sorrow of the tuskers were heard by the monks who lived in Jetavana monastery. That much the elephants loved Arahant Anya Kondanya Mahathera. When you say Sanghang Saranang Gacchami, I think first of all we should remember Arahant Anya Kondanya Mahathera. He was the eldest bhikkhu, one of the most obedient and humble monk lived in the Buddha Sasana. When Arahant Sariputta and Moggallana has to lived near to the Blessed One. And then also when Anya Kondanya Mahathera was also near to the Blessed One, Aran Anya, when Aran Anya Kondanya Mahathera says, Venerable Sariputta, please go before me after the Buddha. Then but Aran Sariputta feels uncomfortable to go in front of Arahan Anya Kondanya Mahathera. Then Arahan Anya Kondanya Mahathera decided to leave and live in the forest. So we went refuge to such great disciples who became a stream entrant on a Esala full moon poya day. Then, dear Dhamma friends, this sermon, the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta, the Blessed One preached in India at Varanasi in the Isipatana Deer Park. What happens? Bummanam devanam saddang sutva chatum maharajika deva sadda manussanang vesu. Upon hearing the proclamation of the earth devas, all the Chatum Maharajika devas proclaimed thus. Dear Dhamma friend, this sound, this Dhamma sermon preached at Varanasi Deer Park went until Akanita Brahma worlds. It started from the earthbound devas and the sound went from earthbound devas to Chatum Maharajika, then to Tavatingsa, then to Yama, then to Tusita, then to Nimmanarati, then to Paranimata Vasavatti. Then it went to the greatest world, to Brahma worlds, the Buddha's wonderful words. That happened on a Esala full moon poya day. Just imagine, what a Buddha has said has gone to the entire world system. The darkness of the entire world system was dispelled on that day. And just imagine the darkness of ignorance. The darkness of ignorance. What is ignorance? Not knowing the Four Noble Truths. Now, in the first noble truth is birth is suffering. Then aging, diseases, death, separating from loved ones, mixing with people that we do not like, aggregates of clinging are subject to suffering. So, when after hearing the first noble truth, we will be able to find solutions when we fall sick. When we separate from loved ones, since we have heard the first noble truth, we will have a support from the Buddha's teachings to be happy even in bad times. Then we suffer due to craving. That's the second noble truth. Then Buddha has preached the ways to overcome craving. Then craving can be abandoned. So we don't have to put the blame on others. Once we have abandoned craving, we can overcome suffering. Then to abandon craving, there is a wonderful path, that is the Noble Eightfold Path. So these Four Noble Truths was revealed on Esala full moon poya day. Meritorious Dhamma friends, the Blessed One preached this Dhamma. Then the Blessed One uttered this inspired utterance of joy. Indeed, Kondanya has realized. Indeed, Kondanya has realized. Thus it was that the Venerable Kondanya received the name Anya Kondanya, Kondanya who realized. So, dear Dhamma friends, it was an amazing day where the Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha, the three things, you can wholeheartedly say, Buddhaṃ saranam gacchāmi, Dhammaṃ saranam gacchāmi, and Sanghaṃ saranam gacchāmi. Dear Dhamma friends, the moment the Buddha after leaving Bodh Gaya, he met one person called Upaka. But Upaka only met the Buddha. He did not met the Sangha. He did not even go refuge to Buddha. Dear Dhamma friends, at that time the Blessed One said, when Upaka asked question from the Blessed Ones, the Blessed One said, I have no teacher, and one like me exists nowhere in all the world. That means he has escaped from all the worlds. Who? The Blessed One. With all its gods, because I have no person for me, no person for my counterpart. I go now to the city of Kasi. Kasi is where? At Varanasi. To set in motion the wheel of Dhamma, to preach the first Dhamma sermon in a world that has become blind. I go to beat the wonderful drum of the bliss of Nibbana. Just imagine, dear Dhamma friends, when the Blessed One went by foot from Bodh Gaya to Varanasi, I think it takes more than 12 hours from Bodh Gaya to Varanasi. He went by foot. Then the Devas and Brahmas were waiting to listen to this Dhamma sermon. After listening to this Dhamma sermon, On Esala full moon poya day, millions and trillions of divine beings and Brahmas realize the Four Noble Truths. That's why our teacher, most venerable Kiribati Jnanananda Mahathera says, in this life, even if you are unable to realize the Four Noble Truths, try to have a strong determination to be born in divine worlds. At least once we are born in divine worlds, there is a more possibility and a chance to realize the Four Noble Truths. That's only if you are unable to realize the Four Noble Truths. But if you come back to this human world again and again in near future, remember, there are no Buddhas. It's even very difficult to find some virtuous monks and the monks who preach Dhamma properly. So dear Dhamma friends, when this world is getting corrupted day by day, we should have a strong determination to place confidence and have confidence in the Buddha, confidence in the Buddha's teachings and in the Sangha, and to realize the Four Noble Truths in this Gautama Buddha's dispensation. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.